Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another broadcast. Welcome to Black Empowerment Movement broadcast. I'm Chairman Kentu Sankara from Black Empowerment Movement. Today we have our special guest, Chris Nettles, Councilman Chris Nettles out of the city of Fort Worth. He's been on the broadcast. Well, we welcome Chris again. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Good to see you, Kentu. Last time we talked, we had a great conversation. So looking forward to another conversation. A lot has happened since we last talked, but that's what the way of life is. A lot of things are happening each and every day. So I'm glad to be on with you tonight.
Exactly. A lot has taken place, especially in the state of Texas. And this is especially why you was the perfect person to have on to talk about the subject of gun violence and the school shootings, because we recently had a school shooting in the state of Texas. You know, with us living in the state of Texas and the city of Fort Worth, you know, protecting the youth and protecting the kids and just protecting everyone. Safety is a major concern locally and nationally. So I think you probably, the perfect person to have on to talk about it, since you serve on city government as an elected official, to come on and talk about these things, because these topics are very touchy. It's hard to, for lack of a better word, pick a side. I think it's just one of those things I guess as a collective, regardless of where you sit at, people gonna have to find middle ground to work together on at the end of the day. But before we jump into it, I just want to remind you guys, whether you're watching live or you're watching it, down the road in the future, just remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Black Empowerment Movement. If you liking any of the videos, please remember to subscribe to the channel, share, leave a comment. Whether you disagree with me or Chris tonight, leave a comment. I read every comment that you leave. I try to reply to every comment. But I really do appreciate if you leave a comment, and whether you like what we're talking about or not, leave a comment. I really do appreciate the feedback. And we're about to jump into it. Before we jump into it, Chris, let me play a video to give a little background of what we're going to be talking about tonight. So give me 1 second. Let me get that video play, and let's check that out, guys.
Of rounds of ammo immediately after his 18th birthday. So here in Texas, all of it was bought legally. Experts say it appears the gunman did everything by the book. Of course, Texas has some of the most
a church in Sutherland Springs and a high school near Houston, Texas continued to ease gun restrictions.
The government is coming to take your guns. Texas will not let that happen.
In June of 2021, Governor Greg Abbott signed a series of bills alongside the NRA.
So there is a need for people to have a weapon to defend themselves in the Lone Star State.
Abbott made Texas a constitutional carry state, dropping the requirement of background checks and training before buying a gun. The governor also lowered the age to buy a handgun, giving Texans as young as 18 the ability to get one with certain restrictions. The state has no restrictions on buying a long gun. Governor Abbott says that law has been in place for more than 60 years.
Think about during the time over the course of that 60 years. We have not had episodes like this.
According to the ATF, the shooter bought one gun 2 days after he turned 18. Days later, he turned it on a classroom of fourth graders.
This is totally predictable when you...
Sir, you're out of line.
Former Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who is now running for governor, confronted Governor Abbott today at a news conference and says the governor is doing nothing to fix the problem.
I can't believe you're a sick son of a bitch that would come to a deal like this to make a political issue.
5 of the worst mass shootings in U.S. history right in this state on his watch. What does he do about it? He goes to the NRA convention to brag about how easy he has made it to purchase guns in this state and to carry them publicly without a background check, without any training or vetting whatsoever. It is absolutely wrong. In fact, it is insane.
And there is an NRA conference this weekend for Memorial.
All right, so I know we can. It was a little bit of lag with the video plan. I don't know what's going on, but well, I think everyone got a gist of what was said in the videos. So, Chris, I'm just gonna start things off with you. What are just your own personal thoughts on what's been going on with the gun violence and the news and the school shootings and even in what happened in Buffalo?
And I start out by saying, we as a community, as a people, as elected officials, have to learn how to own our responsibility. And we are elected to represent a community. And when our community hurt, we should hurt. And so there are certainly different perspectives, and there are certainly sides who just don't understand that concept. And just looking at that and listening to that news article just is a reminder that we are blindsided. We are blinded to the truth. And the reality is that guns are not really what kill people. It's people with guns is who killing people. And so when you lower the age, I mean, hey, you have to be 21 before you can drink alcohol. Okay. Alcohol doesn't have a higher proven rate over guns of killing people, but you have to be 21 to purchase alcohol. At 18, you can buy a gun. And so the economics is not making sense. When you talk about guns are for safety, for if you're trying to attack me, I can use a gun to protect myself. That's fair. You should be able to protect yourself in any matter. The problem is when people use those weapons, not necessarily to protect themselves, but to harm innocent children and people, we have to do something about it. And so that's kind of my take. And as we talk about this conversation, is that here in Texas is one of the most freely states to purchase guns, be a gun owner, walk around with your handgun. And I tell you, we have more gun shows here in Fort Worth, Texas, than all over the world. I mean, any given week, there's a gun show at the Fort Worth Convention Center. And there are some things we have to do with our state and some things we can do at our city level.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of work that needs to be done. And like here in the comment, Bab, he was saying personally, he never been more secure in his life to say that now is the time to ban these assault rifle, carbine rifles, or whatever wordplay games we want to use. And I pretty much, I know Bab, and he's former military, so that's big coming from somebody in the military. Usually military people not about that, banning what we call guns like AR-15, AKs, 47s.
Right. Those weapons are designed to kill multiple people in a very fast second. And everyday people shouldn't have those type of guns.
And the pushback on that, man, I don't know where I sit on this one. I think we gotta, like you said, we gotta find that middle ground, because I think people think AR-15s and those type of weapons are like auto fire, which they're not auto fire. It still require you to pull the trigger each time. It's not like a military grade rifle where you just pull one time and it shoot out multiple rounds. Because at the end of the day, like, if you have multiple intruders coming in or coming into your home, I I'm on the line of you should have the best available weapon to defend your home at the end of the day, and sometimes the AR-15 may be that best option.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, those weapons are, I hate to say it, are being used to cause the mass shootings as well. So I don't feel like I'm not gonna say I know the answer, but maybe it's a way laws can be designed that people can purchase. Certain people can purchase that weapon, some can't. So, but it needs to. But at the end of the day, it needs to be talked about. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
it needs to be talked about.
I think you're right on, and I think it goes back to the news article where it talks about, you know, you don't have to have a background check. We're not doing a mental health screening on you, and those are some of the things that need to happen when you're buying those type of weapons. And here, hey, if you're a sound head in your right mind, your background's clear, you should be able to get whatever that you want to protect yourself. And that's not the only way that the protection needs to happen. They there are some things that need to happen in our school system. We need to fund mental health counselors to help with our issues. And here's the problem with mental health, and I don't want to get too far off topic, but I think it goes along with it. When I was at a gun violence panel, and I said our families and our community share a responsibility in this as well. And as I would say, my mom, just like my mom, if I'm dealing with some things, I might not go to the police office. I may not go to my friends, but I might say, hey, you know, mom, my head is not right. I'm not in a good headspace. You know, I'm having some issues. At that moment, my family should be able to say, hey, you have a mental health crisis, and we need to get you some help. But our community is saying, we're not crazy. We don't have mental issues. You're good. Sleep it off. Drink it off. You know, but there are people who need to sit down and deal with their mental health issues. And that's another caveat that we need to deal with, because, again, I don't think it's necessarily the gun is the main problem. It's the people who have issues and they now have guns.
And also, Chris, before I jump into your point, is it a way? I just got Bab just messaged me saying your voice seemed kind of low. I don't know if you can speak up or just pull the mic a little closer to you. That'll definitely help. But I hear you a little bit myself.
Okay.
But Chris, let me challenge you back on another point. The thing is, like the recent killing that happened in Texas at the school, the 18-year-old, he went through the legal routes of having the background check, because when you buy a gun, they do a background check. So he did the background check. He did everything. So I wouldn't say necessarily background check, because we all get background checks when we purchase firearms. So I think it goes back to, I think is the National Registry. Now, we don't have a national registry with guns where everybody that purchased a gun through the buy and the sell a gun is in this national database registry where a gun is assigned to everyone. Like you just mentioned, at these gun shows, these are private individuals selling guns to each other, and it's not a national database to keep up with who gave a gun to who, you know. So I would say maybe that could be the solution. I don't know. I haven't really done a lot of research into a national registry, but maybe it's one of those things we got to create a department for, like we have a department for motor vehicle and registration, where every car that is bought and sold needs to be registered with your county government where you reside. You know, because you know, if you drive in on the street, that car needs a registration. It must be registered to be driven on the highways. So, and even when you buy a car private from a private seller, you still are required to register that vehicle at the end of the day. So maybe that could be the solution. Maybe it's a national registry. I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying that's another thing that we can talk about, you know, to put on the table as well. So it's that's another avenue, and a lot of these discussions, I hate to bring this up because I know that a lot of people like certain people, but I get upset. I'm not Republican or Democrat, but I do get upset when I hear Democrats, especially Beto, talk about we need universal background checks. That just I think he's saying it because it's like it's a flashy word to say, because I'm like, every time he says that, I'm like, Beto, we have background checks. It's not, background checks, not the issue. I like, we want to get down to the issue. Let's talk about a national registry or something like that, and stop just throwing words out there to grab people's attention when we already have the background checks. So I come across, when I hear him say that, I feel like he's being disingenuous when I hear things like that. But overall, all of these things need to put out on the table. We need to hash it out at the end of the day. Uh, uh, but regarding the schools, because at the end of the day, we really do want to protect the kids. Where you at
Correct.
with having security with the schools? It's already crazy enough. The school districts across the country are really struggling with kids trying to learn. Now we adding this another component to this. Where you at with the security for the? I know this is more of a school district question, but I still want to throw it at you.
Well, no, I mean, and I tell people when I ran for city council, I ran to represent all of the people. And so we can't have a great economy if we have a failing school system. And so that's where we have to work together. And that's where I have been working with our school district. And so, and I will tell you that when you have SROs or security people in the school district, and just say it like this, we don't have as many mass shootings or many people coming in trying to kill our kids as we have problems within our school districts. So there is a strong group of people who don't care for officers in the school because it affects our Black and brown community more than anything. So if you get into fights or if you having a disciplinary issue within the school district, you're encounter with an SRO or officer that's on site, which is that their main goal to be arresting young kids. And so, that's a whole nother situation. My issue is we have to figure out how to make sure that our schools have the top most security, whatever that looks like. If that's an individual, if that's a private security team, or if that's a holistic system. One school has a system like if you walk through a door, the whole door is wired to know if you have any type of weapon or on you, and immediately someone is alerted and alarms go off. That it might cost a lot of money, but that might be a solution, so that we know at the moment that he walks in the hallway, somebody walks in the hallway, that we have a gun inside the school district and we can move quickly. A more robust system of how we operate. I mean, the problem is we go with life like it's not going to happen to us. Uvalde, it's not going to happen to Uvalde. It's not going to happen to Fort Worth. It's not going to happen to the Columbine. And all these places, we never thought it was going to happen, but they do. And so I'm looking at the comment he posted. And so currently in the city of Fort Worth, we do have officers in high school and middle school. We do not have officers in the elementary school system. And so there is a strong conversation we need to have. Is officers the way to go? Is officers really stopping mass shootings? When you look at Uvalde, the officers didn't go in for a whole hour and a half. Whether that be it was the sergeant's fault, the lieutenant, whoever was on board, but there was some issues that happened there, and I challenged the police department. I said, do y'all have officers who may be timid or afraid to go into combat because they might lose their life? These are real situations we need to talk about, and so I don't know what that looks like for our schools
Yeah.
going forward. I do know that we need to have a conversation with our school districts because they're their own entity and say, how do we secure our schools better? And when we figure that out, we ask the school district how much money you have towards that and how much the city can put towards it. Because I'll be number one rallying for funds to go directly to the city of Fort Worth. But we have 14 to 15 ISDs in the city of Fort Worth. Keller ISD, Crowley, Fort Worth, charter schools, several. And so we have to really make sure that all of our citizens are safe.
And we go back to the comment section. And I'm sure what Bab is saying, a lot of people are probably saying he basically saying violence happened at the club with they got armed security. People shoot everywhere. So that is true. It's armed security at schools currently now, but we don't have it in elementary schools.
Correct.
It kind of feels kind of strange saying we need security at elementary school. I'm like fucking Twilight Zone now.
Right.
So I was like, I mean, you got to put some type of measurements there. You just can't have it wide open at the end of the day. I feel like as well too, Bab. But let's jump back into the 18-year-old thing, the age limit to buy a long gun. This is where I'm at personally. I thought about this. You know how you got to take a driving test.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take a test to get an insurance license. You got to take a test for a lot of things in the state of Texas to get, to have, different privileges and rights. Why we just can't set, like, when you turn 18, because I believe an 18-year-old needs the right to defend himself. That's when you out of the house, you get your own place. You need the right to defend yourself. Because if you raise that age to the age of 21, then at the age of 18, you can't buy a handgun and you can't buy a long gun. So you won't have any type of weapon for your protection when you get out on your own. So you do need something, but I'm at the point where you need to have some type of standardized test to take to be able to own a gun. You know how, like me, when I was, as an insurance agent, you got to study for a test. They ask you certain questions about laws and procedures and everything like that. You pay a certain amount, where it'd be $100, $200. You pay a certain amount, you go to a location and you take the test. I'm just saying maybe that could be an option out there. Now, I would say that can work on both ends of the spectrum, Democrats and Republicans, because one, it generates revenue for the state. It creates a whole new industry somewhat, So I would think that could be a opportunity right there. Make a when you turn 18, you could take a test. You got to take a test to drive. Let's take a test to own a handgun. When you move to the state of Texas, if you want to be able to handle a firearm in the state of Texas, it could be nationally. You got to be able to pass a test, but more likely that'll be on the state level, though. I just threw it out there, but just initially from what I just said, what you think about that?
No, I mean, I think it's good. I don't think it's one fix. It's one all be all, fix one all. I think you have to have multiple things happening to cut down on what we see today. And I mean, he's right. I mean, they're killing people everywhere. My cousin got killed in his own house by a gun last week. And somebody came in there and shot him. So I don't want to say there's nothing we cannot do, but there are steps that we can take to fix this process. 18 years old, gone, a gun, shot. And so it goes back to my point of responsibility. It goes back to my point of everybody participating in the process. And so I know they try to make this issue political, and I get your drift on Beto. But at the end of the day, we have to come to some type of common ground with the Republicans and the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
I own a gun, so you'll never see me lobbying and saying, get rid of guns, get rid of guns. But what I will say, we need to have a stricter gun law, if that be taking a test, if that be the age limit, if that be a not only background check, but an FBI check and a mental health check. I mean, a strictly mental health check, because, and the problem is some of these people who are killing people, they're going to pass all three of those because they know how to work the system. And so if they pass all those, then how do we stop them from getting into schools and killing our babies? We got to have a better secure system. And every year or every 2 to 4 years, they pass a bond or they put a bond up for schools. Well, we need to see one that deals with security and securing our schools. I mean, you think about it, you pass by our schools, these are ancient schools. They probably don't know who's coming in and out these doors. We need to beef up our security. And when I say beef up security, I'm not talking about human beings. I'm talking about a system, windows, doors, cameras, whatever have you, so that we know when somebody is intruding. I mean, my phone right now, when somebody passes, when the wind blows hard, my Ring camera goes off and it shows me on my phone. We need stuff that instantly, he should not have been able to walk down that hallway and nobody know who he is.
That's a great point. And then back in the comment section, man, Bab coming with the fire. He said, let's keep it 100. He said gun laws are what they are because of white fear. Yep. Man, that's a you know what, Bab? It's some truth in that. It's some truth in that.
That goes to the point that I said that some of those officers were afraid to go in there and come back with their officer because with that guy, because they was afraid they was going to lose their lives. And Kentu, I'm even taking to another level. That is why a lot of our black young men have gotten shot, have gotten in chokeholds, have been arrested, because there is a strong fear of black men and black young people that instead of approaching us, let's just shoot them. We don't know what they're going to do. We have, and I'm going to say it, there are a lot of officers that are afraid, and my whole deal is, why are you getting in the game if you're afraid? I play football knowing that I might get my leg broke, might get my arm broke, I might get abused and hurt. I signed up to be an RN or a doctor, knowing that I might get some type of COVID disease or whatever, but this is what I signed up for, and I need to do what I signed up for. Officers need to do what they've been called to do, sign up for, and stop having these gun laws because of their fear. I mean, that's a great point. I truly believe there are a lot of people that are scared out there.
And then let me ask you this. So, and back to the Republican side, or just people that's more side of gun rights, gun laws, gun freedom, they would say, hey, people that want to kill, they gonna kill. They gonna be able to get the guns illegally.
Yeah.
Whatever, by any means necessary, they gonna find a way. What would you say to that? What would you say to that, and what would you feel like would be somewhat of a solution to the curbing? We can't stop it, but what would you say be some ways to curb it a little bit?
Good point. It goes back to what you said. When you buy a gun, you need to go through a background check. You need to go through, and I said this, go to an FBI check. Then you said you need to go to a register your weapon with your name when you buy that gun. Because what's happening is they are buying guns. They don't have to register these guns, and then they're selling them on the street to young kids and young or people who just want to kill people. But if you bought a gun, you have to register. You have to go to FBI check. You have to go through a background check. And so once we find that gun and it has killed 15 people, guess who we coming after? We coming to get you. And you going to jail for guilty by association because you gave somebody your gun or sold a gun to somebody that should not ever have a gun in their possession. Just like these people who have guns in their glove department. The police department gave us a database of more people get guns steal out of their cars. When people get their guns stolen out of their cars, they don't report their guns stolen. It's just a free gun out there. But if your gun was registered, guess what? You're gonna report your gun was stolen because you want to make sure that if they shoot somebody, I ain't going down.
Yeah.
There may be a way, it might not fix it all, but if your life is on the line for something that you ain't did, I bet you start talking.
Exactly. I think you know what? With this 30-minute conversation, I think we solved half of the problems.
Yeah.
I think we did. Like I've been scouring the internet, I've been watching the news on this topic, and I haven't seen, I'm gonna not say I haven't, but not too many folks are hitting on the things that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They keep bringing up flashy words or catchy words, background check, and but people gonna get it regardless of what they wanted or not. They gonna kill, but I haven't heard anyone talk about in detail the things we've been talking about, what Bab been putting in the comment section. These are some real solutions that can make everyone. Well, you can't make everyone happy, but it can make majority of the people on both sides of the aisle happy, because we saying some very down the middle practical solutions to this thing when it comes to the gun laws and things we can implement or at least discuss or talk about at least. So
and let me bring up another point real quick for you get off that thing.
Yeah.
Because you're so right, and we have solved half of it, and there's a lot of people out there that got more things to do. Remember, you should remember this. I guess I was about 16 or 14. But remember, we had that issue with fake IDs. You can go anywhere and get a fake ID. They take your picture, you put your birth number, whatever it was, you make it up. You get in the club, you buy a drink, you buy alcohol, and it was a pandemic. We had millions of people using fake IDs. What did the ID people start doing? They start putting that scan on the back of the ID. And so when you start using those fake IDs, they said, let's see the back of it. Now, also on IDs, they got your birthday as a bubble. So when you rub the little driver's license, the birthday is a bubble. And they also got, just look at your ID. Look how
it got a lot of stuff on there.
It's on there to track, to make sure to determine a real one versus a fake one. Same thing. If we can track and make these people responsible for when you buy a gun, it's gonna be easy to identify that as your gun. And if that gun kills somebody, you in trouble and whoever else is in trouble. I think we can do it, but we gotta be creative. And just like the Texas Driver's License Department of Public Safety, they did it. Why can't we do it again?
Yeah, and I think what we talking about, it needs to be discussed. Like I feel my problem with Governor Greg Abbott is it seems like to me he's not even willing to have the discussion. The people in Texas in the Senate, because they not willing to have the discussion. So I at least have the discussion. Then when we go back to the other side with the Democrats, they gotta be
willing to compromise.
It can't be like, oh, we just need to ban. No, let's have a compromise. It don't necessarily have to be a ban. Let's talk about some ways we can monitor some things and stuff like that. So it can't be like, we don't want to talk about it. Then we can't have other side talking about, we just want to take all the damn guns, So it gotta be some compromise,
and that's what
it gotta be a balance.
It's a balance. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's a balance. But I'm glad you was able to jump on. I know you have a busy schedule today. I just appreciate you. The main reason I want to bring you, because I know you one of the more level-minded individuals out there. But before we go, guys, just also remember to please subscribe, share the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Black Empowerment Movement. And I want to thank our guest, Chris. Chris, before we let you go, anything you want to say, mention, let people know what's going on with you or stuff that's going on in the community?
Yeah, I would say, definitely subscribe to the Black Empowerment Movement. You guys are doing a great, phenomenal job. I have had opportunity to participate in some of the things you do in the community outside of gun violence. Just helping young people as a holistic way. Also, follow our campaign page, Councilman Chris Nettles, because we're doing things as it relates to gun violence and our community. I did lunch, and I spoke to you about it, and I spoke to you about the Fort Worth violence intervention that we launched before school was out. We went into Dunbar High School, and we went into Poly High School, and we had like an assembly talking to them about gun violence or guns, period. And so we're going to be pushing that back out when schools start back up in September. And so I look forward to you being a part of it and other people, because I don't have all the answers, but we have to reach our young people where they are and let them know, hey, we want you to be successful. Be who you are. Don't change who you are. But at the end of the day, if you see something, say something. If you know something, it might can save somebody's lives. At the end of the day, we want to save lives. We don't want our black families to keep dying on these streets, because if we keep dying, we can't produce. We need to keep producing our babies. And so that's all I have to say. I appreciate you, man.
Hey, good deal. All right, guys. We'll see you. All power to the people. Y'all have a good night. Take care.
All right.